What if I told you there's a single scam invented over 100 years ago that's still fooling people today? It's the blueprint for nearly every major financial fraud you've ever heard of, from Wall Street collapses to crypto rug pulls. And it all started with one man, Charles Ponzi. This isn't just a history lesson. This is the origin story of the scam that refuses to die. Welcome to HistoroMystic. Today, we read diving deep into the shocking true story of Charles Ponzi and the scheme that made his name infamous. Picture this. It's 1919 post-World War I America. People are optimistic, eager to make money and chase the American dream. Into this hopeful landscape steps a charming Italian immigrant named Carlo Ponzi, who soon rebrands himself as Charles Ponzi. He's charismatic, well-dressed, and he has a business proposition that sounds almost too good to be true. And you know what they say about that? Ponzi's big idea centered on something called International Reply Coupons, or IRCs. These were basically vouchers you could buy in one country and exchange for postage stamps in another. Due to post-war currency fluctuations, Ponzi noticed a loophole. An IRC bought cheaply in a country like Spain could be redeemed for stamps of a much higher value in the United States. He claimed you could buy a coupon in Europe for the equivalent of 1 cent and cash it in for 6 cents worth of American stamps. That's a 500% profit. In theory, it worked. The problem wasn't the idea itself, it was the scale. To make any serious money, you'd need to move millions of these coupons, a logistical nightmare. But Ponzi wasn't going to let details get in the way of a good story. In late 1919, he founded his company, the Securities Exchange Company, in Boston. He started telling people about his IRC arbitrage plan and made them an electrifying promise. Invest with me and I'll give you a 50% return in just 45 days. Or an unbelievable 100% return in 90 days. While banks were offering a measly 5% interest per year, Ponzi was offering 50% in a month and a half. It sounded insane. It was insane. But here's where the psychology comes in. The first few investors who cautiously handed over their money actually got paid. They put in $100. And 45 days later, Ponzi handed them $150, just like he promised. These early winners were ecstatic. They told their friends, their families, their neighbors. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. Have you heard about Ponzi? He's a financial genius. Soon, lines of people snaked around the block from his office on School Street, all desperate to give him their money. We're talking about factory workers, police officers, and even savvy businessmen. They mortgaged their homes, emptied their life savings, and threw it all at Charles Ponzi. At its peak, his company was taking in over $200,000 a day. That's millions in today's money. Every single day, Ponzi became a local hero, a rags-to-riches legend. He bought a lavish mansion, a custom-built limousine, and wore the finest clothes. He looked the part of a financial wizard, and people loved him for it. But where was all this money coming from? Was he really trading millions of postal coupons? Of course not. The truth is simple and brutal. Ponzi was using the money from new investors to pay off the old ones. That's it. That's the entire mechanism. Person B's investment pays off person A, person C's investment pays off person B. As long as new money keeps flooding in, the illusion of a profitable business can be maintained. This is the classic pyramid structure that defines a Ponzi scheme. There is no underlying investment. There are no actual profits. It's just a continuous cycle of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but a house of cards like this can't stand forever. A few journalists and financial experts started asking questions. The math just didn't add up. For the amount of money Ponzi claimed to be making, there would have to be over 160 million postal coupons in circulation. The actual number, around 27,000. The whole scheme was a mathematical impossibility. Clarence Barron, the publisher of the Wall Street Journal, published a scathing report that exposed the holes in Ponzi's story. This created a panic. The steady stream of new investors began to dry up. And remember, new money was the lifeblood of the entire operation. Without it, the payments stop. Panicked investors rushed to Ponzi's office, demanding their money back. For a short while, Ponzi managed to calm the crowds by paying out anyone who asked for a withdrawal. He'd walk out with a smile, handing out cash, reassuring everyone that their money was safe. This temporary confidence trick worked for a bit, but the damage was done. The well was running dry. The final nail in the coffin came when the state of Massachusetts froze the accounts of the Securities Exchange Company. On August 13, 1920, the whole thing imploded. It turned out Ponzi had liabilities of $7 million, but only $4 million in assets. Thousands of people lost everything. Their life savings, their homes, their dreams gone. Ponzi's entire empire, which had dazzled Boston for 8 months, had vanished into thin air. Charles Ponzi was arrested, convicted of mail fraud, and spent years in prison. After his release, he was deported back to Italy and eventually died penniless in a charity hospital in Brazil in 1949. A pathetic end for a man who once held a city in the palm of his hand. So why are we still talking about this over a century later? Because Ponzi didn't just invent a scam. He perfected a formula. A formula that preys on our deepest desires for wealth and security, and our tendency to trust in a charismatic leader who promises the impossible. Think about Bernie Madoff. It was the exact same playbook, just on a much grander scale and with more sophisticated-sounding investments. He promised steady, high returns, paid early investors with money from later ones, and cultivated an aura of exclusivity and genius. He ran his scheme for decades, stealing billions. Look at the world of cryptocurrency. Countless projects have promised revolutionary technology and guaranteed high returns, only to vanish once enough people have invested. They use new jargon, but the core mechanism is identical to what Ponzi did with paper coupons in 1920. The key takeaways from Ponzi's story are timeless. First, if a return sounds too good to be true, it absolutely is. There is no such thing as a guaranteed high-return, low-risk investment. It doesn't exist. Second, beware of the power of social proof. Just because everyone you know is investing doesn't mean it's a good idea. It could just mean everyone you know is about to be scammed. Panics and manias work both ways. And finally, always question complexity and secrecy. A legitimate investment should be transparent. If someone can't explain clearly how they're making money, or they get defensive when you ask, that's a massive red flag. The story of Charles Ponzi is a powerful reminder that while the tools and technologies of finance change, human psychology, our greed, our hope, and our willingness to believe remains exactly the same. The next Charles Ponzi is already out there, crafting a new story, a new promise. But now you know the blueprint. So what can we learn from Charles Ponzi, the man whose name became the universal symbol for fraud? Ponzi didn't invent greed, and he didn't invent deception. But what he did create was a perfect formula for how to manipulate people's hopes, fears, and dreams of fast money. And that formula hasn't changed in over 100 years. Every modern scam, crypto rug pulls, fake investment clubs, trading gurus, even billion-dollar corporate schemes, all follow Charles Ponzi's playbook. Promise big returns. Pay early investors with new investors. Make everything look legitimate. Collapse when the truth catches up. The only difference today is the technology. The psychology is identical. So if there's one thing Ponzi teaches us, it's this. Whenever someone promises returns that sound too good to be true, they always are. History has already shown us exactly how this story ends. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the original Ponzi scheme, make sure to hit that like button. It helps this video reach more people who love diving into the hidden layers of history. And if you're new here, welcome to HistoroMystic, where we turn the past into powerful lessons for today. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the scams, turning points, and conspiracies that shaped our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you found this dive into financial history fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe to HistoroMystic for more stories about the schemes and mysteries that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what other historical frauds you'd like to see us cover next. See you in the next one.